I'm creating this video while my two daughters go back to school. One is a junior in college and the other is a junior in high school. Now, this is geared towards students who want to get a degree in computer science and then be employed and have an IT career. So it may be of interest to a lot of people, may be of interest to people who are already on their career journey within IT. But I think the people who get the most benefit out of this are high school students who are thinking, hey, I want to become a computer engineer or work in the IT field with a computer science degree. They're the best poised to take advantage and start to set themselves up for success. However, college students are definitely the target audience here because you want to do the right things so that when you graduate, you can get the job and get going. So I'm going to try to be pretty direct, and feel free to jump around the video on to listen to whatever topic is going to give you the most value. But I'm going to talk about the challenges today. There are some things that are going on today that were not a challenge back when I graduated with my computer science degree. And then I'm going to talk about the two things that you need to focus on in addition to your academics. One is IT training, and the other is graduating with experience. And internships are the most kind of classic way of doing it. So I'm going to start with the challenges. Now, when I graduated back in the Stone Ages, it was a challenge to get a job. I had a computer science degree, not much experience, although when I was in school, I tried to get some experience. I wrote a couple of programs for small companies, and that went right onto my resume. So if you do that kind of thing, you definitely want to get that onto your resume. But today there are challenges that I really didn't experience. AI is one of them. AI is a big unknown right now, and I'll talk about that. The other one is H-1B. H-1B visas were created in 1990, and I'm going to post a link to my overview of H-1B visas below the video. But the idea of the H-1B visas is that there's a gap, a skill gap in the United States, and we need to bring in foreign resources to fill those skill gaps. Now, in the video, I'll share 70% of those resources are from India, and there is no skill gap because we have unemployment. So my contention is we don't need H-1B, but it's a challenge that's out there. So a new graduate's going to be competing not only domestically with people for the job, but for a job within the US, they're going to be competing with people from other countries, 70% of which are from India. The big topic is unemployment. Unemployment's pretty high. It's for computer science students. It was high when I graduated as well, so that's a challenge. Outsourcing. Outsourcing has been around for a while. It's been around for a couple of decades, and it's continuing to grow. So that's a continued challenge. And then scams. So I would say 3 out of these 4 or 4 out of the 5 are really all related, and I'll talk to you about them. So the big elephant in the room is unemployment. So as of July 2025, unemployment is 4.2%. Not bad. Not fantastic, but not bad. So in the US, it's 4.2%. The outlier is for computer science graduates, it's 6.1% are not finding a job. If you're a computer engineer, it's 7.5%. It's a bit counterintuitive because journalism has changed over the decades. A lot more media streams for journalism today, and I think it's watered down the academics of journalism, but the unemployment rate is 4.4%, just slightly higher than the national average. Philosophy majors, 3.2%. So if you think about it, philosophy majors at 3.2% and art history majors at 3.0% are actually bringing down the overall average, while computer science majors are bringing up the average of unemployment. That's very counterintuitive. It's very bad as well, because if I'm a student, I'm looking at these numbers, and one of the reasons why I went into computer science, not only because I really liked it and it was a much newer field back then, is that I thought there'd be some security in it. And there was. But if I'm looking at these numbers and I'm a high school student, I'm probably going to pick a different field. And that's going to impact the country's competitive edge. It's going to impact innovation, and it's going to impact, because these are STEM fields, it's going to impact national security. So I think it really needs to be addressed, but these are the challenges, and there are ways of dealing with it, and I do want to talk about those. So just sticking on the challenges, what's driving up this unemployment? And this is my take on it. On anything I say, if you don't agree with it, please do post a comment, if you don't agree, or if you have additional thoughts. But I think there are a few things that are driving it up. AI is being talked a lot about. I think it's a bit of an unknown, and I think people are talking about it and they're using it as a bit of a crutch, because I don't think it's fully baked yet. And it's certainly phenomenal, and there's a lot of value coming out of AI. But I think right now, the people that know how to use AI are employed. The only people that are at risk, from what I'm seeing regarding AI, of being replaced by AI, are just people who don't know how to use it or aren't working with it. Now, you take a company like IBM, and I'll pick on them, but they're not alone. They're saying the reason why they're downsizing their employees in the United States, this is IBM, the once tech giant, is because of AI. It's not really true. They are using it as a crutch. They're using it as an excuse, because what they've done is they've increased their H-1B employment and they've increased their outsourcing. So they're not downsizing. They're just moving their employment to India. And it really is, they have more, IBM specifically, has more Indian employees than United States employees at this point. So I think a lot more is being made of this. Not mad at it. And it's still a bit of an unknown. It's going to have an impact on the landscape for sure. I'm harping on H-1B because it's a big player in the IT space. So it does have an impact. It's forcing US grads to compete with foreign resources. And it's bigger than that, and I'm going to explain. But what we're seeing is the number of foreign resources being employed in the IT field is going up. The number of US citizen resources being employed in the US is going down. That's not a good trend. And part of the reason are contracts. So there are two kinds of companies that use H-1B visa resources. One is the company that hires them directly. Tesla, Walmart. That's fine. Then there's another kind of company, and I'll pick on TIAA. They don't sponsor H-1B visas, and they say that pretty clearly. But what they do is they'll create a very big contract with a company like Accenture, who hires almost exclusively H-1B employees, and they say, we're going to give you this whole sector of our business. We're going to source it to you. So the only way to work for TIAA in that sector of business is to go through Accenture. And Accenture is only using H-1B with small exceptions. So if you're a US citizen and you want to work in those spaces for TIAA, you're out of luck. TIAA is not hiring you. And then there are scams. And this may sound conspiracy theory. It's not. There's nepotism. As I said, 70% of H-1B are from India. So what happens is we're seeing in the IT space that Indians, not every Indian, but there are Indians who are only hiring other Indians. And I'm saying this is not conspiracy theory. It's real because they're being found out and sued. So Cognizant, big consulting company, was brought up and was found guilty of only hiring Indians, of discrimination. Same thing with Walmart. As I'm talking, they're kind of the big one. An executive was really found out of discriminating and leaning towards hiring Indians. So this is very real. And by the way, I am not knocking Indians. I have friends who are Indians. I have folks from India who I work with who are very good people, but I'm targeting U.S. computer science graduates. So these companies that are hiring H-1B resources, they often are trying to prepare themselves to be audited, and they want to show, well, there is a skill gap. We tried to hire a US candidate, but we couldn't. So what they do is they just collect resumes. So you'll see them out there on the internet. You'll see them on LinkedIn. You'll see them on other job boards. And it's tough to tell what's real or what isn't. But you'll send them your resume. And this is why you might send out 50 resumes and not get one response. They're just collecting it. They'll look, they'll see you're not someone who they're looking for because you're a US citizen, and they'll file it so that they can say, from an arbitrary, subjective standpoint, this candidate didn't fit the bill. But look, our H-1B candidate did. Just something to be aware of. And as I said, consultants are blocking jobs. The other thing that consulting companies do is they bring on people from their country, 70% from India, and they train them up. So you're competing against consulting companies who are training up their resources. So it's you against the world. So you need a call to action, and it is you against the world. So you need to get started now. So what do you need to do? It's not easy, but if you like computer science, it's rewarding. First thing you need to do is excel academically. If you're in high school, focus on your grades. Focus on getting that scholarship. Do well. If you're in college, make sure you're maintaining a high GPA. Make sure your computer science classes are all A's. I know some schools now let you go above 4.0, but whatever it is, get A's in computer science. There's no excuse for it. If you're a computer science major, just dedicate the time to it. Then there are two other things I want to talk to you about, and this is really the crux of it. One is above and beyond what you're learning academically, you need to put yourself through some IT training, and I'll talk to that. And then the other thing is, you could start in high school, but definitely while you're in college, you want to target gaining practical experience. Probably the best way to do that is as an intern, and I'll go through some options there. So let's first start talking about IT training. And as I mentioned, these consulting companies, when they're getting ready to bring people on to go to another company, they train their people. So that's an advantage they're going to have over you. But the difference between when I was going to school and the opportunities that you have today is that there's a ton of free training. You just have to put in the time. So I remember when I was teaching myself C, I was teaching myself some shell scripting. I had to just find books and go through that. There wasn't a lot of online stuff to look at. And it was a mixed bag on how good the material was. And some of the languages you needed the compiler. And if you couldn't set up the environment for yourself, it was kind of tough to learn. So today there's a ton of free material out there that can even get you certifications. So I'll post the links and give you some recommendations for some of it, but spend a little bit of time looking at it based on what you want to know. However, if you're a computer science major and you want a career in IT, I think this is foundational. Now, anyone who's in the field, if you have any other suggestions or you don't agree with me, please put it in the comments. That'll help me and anyone else listening to this. So, one of the first questions I ask anybody coming in for a job is, tell me how the internet works. There are a lot of Zoom interviews nowadays, but I try to have as many face-to-face interviews as possible. And if it is face to face, and let's say it's in my office or a conference room or an interview room, I'll give them a dry erase marker and hand it to them and say, tell me how the internet works. And I'm not talking about typing in www, which you should understand what that is and how that's going to work. You should be able to talk about the concept of the internet and how it works. So I'm not going to go through it here. Search for it. Just type it into Google and you're going to get overviews. Probably How to Geek will pop up. It'll give you a good first step, but just understand it. And here's some things to look at. Well, understand what the 13 root servers are. But understand DNS. That's how things are named and addressed. Understand the basics, at least, of TCP/IP. If you're going to be an infrastructure person, I'm going to really look for you to know these things cold. But if you're looking to be a programmer or something else, understand these concepts fairly well. DHCP, that's really how addressing is assigned. You need to know that, even if you're just troubleshooting at home, understanding these things, and DHCP is going to help you. Top layer domain, know what that is. Understand the domain structure. Understand IPv4 and IPv6. Hey, if you could subnet mask, if you could do things in binary and hex, that's great. But you don't need to. You need to understand what they are, and you do need to understand what subnetting is. You need to understand network segmentation and routing. If you at least understand the concepts, maybe not how to do it, that's going to go a long way. So you do need to, and I think I'll bring this up a couple of times, but you need to have some programming skills. Can you even code, bro? And I think the best place to start nowadays is Python and Perl. Perl is old school for sure. People are going to say Python is old school. Python is still very much used. Perl will help get you out of some jams and get you some things done. And if you got an old school guy like me, it'll give you some points. But again, comment if you've got other ideas. A couple of places to go for that training is Code Academy, Coursera, and learnpython.org. You have to carve out some time to learn these. It's not going to happen overnight, but within 6 months, maybe less, you're going to get fairly skilled at Python, enough to be able to say I can code. And SQL, go to allison.com and go through it. You need to know how to query. So there's some in-demand areas, and there are some degrees that are focused on these areas, which is good. But you may be going for a general computer science degree, and you do want to focus on these areas. So I'll try to put some links to some training, some free training out there, but you can think about it, and you may want to think about even getting certifications, because if you can graduate and have certifications in some of these things, it's going to go a long way. Security's big, and a lot of the outsourced code that's coming through has security problems. Cloud computing, really understanding it, and there are certifications for that. Networking, programming languages, as I said before, that foundation is important. Data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine language. If you're going to go for either artificial intelligence or machine learning, you should study both. DevOps, which is really how do you pull this all together while you're continually developing and continually delivering. It's kind of the gears of the IT world. Very valuable. And web development. Now, if you're going to be a web developer, and there's some training out there for that. And there may, as I said, there could be some specific academic college courses for this. Aim for the full stack. And what that means is don't just deliver that front end, that web front end, and expect somebody else to deliver all the way through back to the data, the meat and potatoes of the programming. Learn it all. That is always the person you want to be. So there's a lot of resources. I'll do my best to give you some in the links below, but Google is your best friend, or Bing, or DuckDuckGo. So I've been showing you stick figures, which is great technically, but you do want to be a well-rounded stick man. So learn some supporting skills. That's going to really help you. So technical support, there's books you can read on it. You could Google it, and there's a whole practice around technical support. I'm not saying you have to go for ITIL, but one thing you could do, and really the first 3 bullets could be around this, is anytime you hear of a technical problem, your cousin, your brother, your father, your mother, whenever they have a technical problem with their laptop, their iPhone, whatever, be the guy to figure it out. You don't have to know what it is right away, but you're going to figure it out. You're going to go on Google, you're going to go on YouTube, you're going to figure it out. And while you're figuring it out, think of them as a customer. Communicate to them. Make it so that they can understand what you're doing, what the problem was, and how you fixed it. That effective communication, along with the ability to troubleshoot, is so important. If you're in college, I would recommend taking a communication class that has presentation skills, where you need to deliver a couple of presentations. I've seen a lot of very good technical IT people melt in front of a room while they're trying to present an idea of theirs. The difference between success and failure often is just being able to communicate your idea. And interpersonal skills, super important. You need to be able to learn how to communicate with people. You need to be able to accept criticism, take people's feedback. I've got a video on that. And make it so that they understand that you see the value in their feedback, and that and from your perspective, you should be looking at it as like, great, this is helping me build out my skill set. And you also need to be able to give feedback appropriately at the appropriate times. So again, programming languages, even if you're an infrastructure person, even if you're going to be a project manager, knowing how to program is going to make a big difference. And some people are going to laugh. Don't laugh at this. Know how to use Excel or Google Sheets. There's a lot of books, there's dummies books out there on how to use it. Know how to do VLOOKUPs, know how to do formulas. It's going to make somebody else's life easier, and if you could do that, it may help you get the job, or it may help you move along. Same thing with PowerPoint and Google Slides. Know how to use it. Now you're looking at my presentation here and you're probably saying, hey Milo, why don't you learn how to use Microsoft PowerPoint? And I would take that as feedback, and it is on my list of things to improve on. But also Google has a lot of other tools like Google Forms. Take a look at those things. Just be aware of them. Look for opportunities to use them. They're all free. All right, this is the big one. Everything you do academically, everything you do from a IT training perspective while you're a student should help get you that intern position. And I'll call an intern position anything that you're going to be able to say is experience. So the best place to start is either if you're in high school, go to your guidance counselor, see if they can help you. If you're in high school, you're hitting a home run. If you can get a job somewhere for $0, helping them out, helping their IT department out in some way, or getting involved. In college, talk to the Career Center. They may have some requirements, and you want to make sure you're tackling those. Now, this is where I say you need to perform academically, because that university is only going to want to put their best people forward. And it may be easy for some people. And I've got a nephew, did extremely well academically in high school, got a scholarship to a top university, did very well in college, had to work for it, but grades were excellent. That college gave him the opportunity to have some excellent internships, had a couple of them. That led to him having a great career now at Amazon, and he's doing extremely well. So these internships are going to make a big difference. So go to your career services people. Look at the job boards. Look at LinkedIn. Look at Dice. Whatever job boards you can find out there. They sometimes post even part-time jobs. You want to see if it's going to be something you can get. Even if it's a part-time job, you may want to offer to them, I'll work for free. I just want to work for the experience. Network everywhere. And this is where those interpersonal skills come into place. Now, back in the Stone Age when I was in school, I remember I was a computer science student. I worked in a deli. Between a scholarship and working in the deli is how I got through school and student loans. So what I did was, and I was maturing, but when I worked in the deli, I got to know people. I worked there for years, got to know people, and I would notice the ones in a suit that were getting on a bus and going into New York City for jobs. I would find out what they did conversationally. And then I would look to see, hey, is there any opportunity? And don't leave any stone unturned. You've got family, you've got friends with family that work, you've got your part-time job, or if you're volunteering somewhere, talk to everyone you come into contact and see if anyone can help you out. One thing you could do is volunteer. There are a lot of .orgs. Look in your area, and sometimes they'll be a .org. Maybe it's a historic site, and you can work. And they may not be able to afford an IT guy. Maybe they're outsourcing the IT guy, and you could say, "Hey, I'll be your IT guy, no charge, and I'll make it so that you don't have to pay that consultant a whole lot. I'll figure things out. I'll work with them, and I'll figure it out." Obviously, the best intern job you can get are the ones where they've got an intern program, because they start to get you ready for your career. However, a lot of that work sometimes are bogus projects. They'll set up the interns to create a project and present the project. That experience is awesome. It's kind of like training. Well, it is training, but there's no value to it. You're not delivering anything. Although I've seen some, I've seen a couple of projects, but it's only a couple of projects actually go to fruition. The better internships that I've been involved on is when I actually embed them into the team and say, I need this done. I had one guy work on reporting for me, and he got pretty good with Excel, and he did some reporting that I couldn't figure out. And he not only got great experience across the board, he got a reference for life from me. So think about that kind of thing. Also, if you're not having any luck in the job boards, you're not having any luck with career services, look at the companies in your area. You may be in a dorm, living away from home at school, or if you're going to school at home, look at the companies that are local to you. Reach out to them and offer your time and say, hey, I'll work for free. I'm just looking for experience. I'm not looking to be a burden. I'll be part of your IT department. If you've got a department that needs IT help, I'll be the guy that figures it out. You can give me problems. So think about those things. It's super important. This should be one of your goals. Not only getting a 4.0 in your major, I'd say 4.0 overall, but get that 4.0 in your major. Getting an internship. Graduate with good grades. Graduate with experience that you can put on your resume, and hopefully a couple of references. Make it your absolute mission. You're going to learn. This is investing in yourself. So When you're starting college, now you could pick this up at any year. So if you're in high school, you're ahead of the game. Start thinking about this now. If you're a freshman, great. You're at the launching pad. If you're a junior, think about this as well. Combine your IT training that you need to invest in yourself, as well as finding a job, even if it's for no money, that will give you experience. So, your freshman year, you should start IT training. Start with the foundations that I laid out and start to investigate the internship. Start with career services, start looking online. As you roll into your second year, you should be moving along with training, and you should have a strategy on how am I going to start to set myself up for an internship. You should have a resume and whatever else you need to start to collect. They often want to see what activities you've participated with in high school and maybe what you're doing in college. Anything is good. Anything teamwork wise is good. You don't have to be, quarterback of the football team. And keep that going. Kind of end of sophomore year, maybe junior year, you really want to evaluate how that training path is going. Does it align with your interest? You may want to shift gears. It's free, it should be free, and it should be things that you're doing on your own time. So you can adjust that plan at any time, but definitely at the end of your sophomore year, going into your junior year, you want to make sure you're doing a sanity check. And heading into your junior year, you really want to set yourself up for getting that internship or volunteer position, for getting that experience. The goal is, and nothing should stand in your way from graduating with experience. Often, when you're graduating with experience, if you're lucky enough to be working for a company, as opposed to a .org, but a company that hires people, you've done such a good job as an intern, you're going to be the first person they consider for an entry level position. So I hope this has helped you, and it's really important to invest in yourself. Take a look at the links I have below. If you have any comments on the recommendations I have, if you don't agree with them, if you have any additional comments, please put them in there. Any questions, feel free to post or email me. I'll put my email address in there as well if you don't want to share it online. And I really wish you luck.